Hola! Today's lesson is about mandatos formales, formal commands, usted y ustedes. So what is a command? A command is a verb form that we use to tell someone to do or not to do something. So examples of commands would be do your homework, study Spanish, don't be lazy, pick up your clothes, turn off the lights. So it's a very direct way of telling someone to do or not to do something. And formal commands are for those people that you would address as usted y ustedes. So for usted, these are people that you would want to be very polite and formal with. Some examples would be your boss or a stranger. Maybe you're walking across campus and someone asks you for directions and you don't know this person, so you are going to give them commands. Go past the library, turn left at University Center. Those would be commands that you would give them, and you would use usted commands because you don't know this person and you want to be polite. If you are ordering food and you're asking the waiter, bring me another glass of wine, please. Then you want to be polite because it's your waiter. And if you're not polite, maybe they're going to spit in your food. If you're talking to a store clerk, again, you want to be very courteous and polite and use usted forms. Anytime you are addressing a group of people, if you're telling a group of people what to do, I use ustedes commands with my students. So I would tell all my students, study tonight, do your homework, don't forget to turn in your Learn Smart. And then oftentimes you will see recipes and directions written using usted and ustedes commands in Spanish. So how do we form formal commands? The first thing that we need to do is go to the yo form of our verb. So remember from Spanish 1 that all of our verbs, except for some irregulars, will end in the yo form. So we have hablo, escribo, como, vivo, tomo. All of those verbs are in the yo form. So we go to the yo form and then we drop the O. And then our second step is to put on the endings that are associated with usted and ustedes commands. So if you'll look at this chart, if it's an AR verb, the endings will be A for usted and N for ustedes. And if it's an ER-IR verb, your endings will be A for usted and AN for ustedes. So you need to memorize those endings. So I suggest making a flashcard that says how to form formal commands on one side, and on the back, put these 2 steps. Go to the O form of the verb, drop the O, and then put these endings on there. And then just make sure that you're able to recite it as I am. So here's some examples. Hablar, for example, the yo form would be hablo. And then it's an AR verb, so we put on these endings, A o N. Hable usted o hablen ustedes. Hablen en español. Speak in Spanish. That's something that I tell my students to do all the time. Comer. The yo form is como. So we drop the O, and then we have coma, coman. Coman sus verduras. Eat your vegetables. Maybe that's what, if you're a parent, that's what you would tell your children. Coman sus verduras. Eat your vegetables. Escribir, the yo form is escribo, so our command form is escriba, escriban. No escriban con lápiz, usen bolígrafo. Don't write with pencil, use pen. And usen is italicized because it's also a command, a formal command. So the infinitive would be usar, which is an AR verb. And so for AR verbs, our endings are A o N. We do have some spelling changes for verbs that end in car, like practicar, tocar, gar, like entregar, jugar, And sar, like empezar, almorzar, comenzar, those are verbs that end in car, gar, and zar. And when we're forming formal commands, we're going to have some spelling changes with those verbs. So for the car verbs, you're going to have, instead of using that C, we're going to use QU. So we have busque, busquen. Busque la casa roja en la esquina. For gar verbs, gar verbs, the G changes to GU. Pague, paguen. Pague la cuenta. And for verbs that end in zar, zeta, ar, we're going to change the Z to a C. Empezar would be empiece, empiecen. And you'll notice that empezar is a stem changing verb, and it will stem change in the command form as well. So if it stem changes in the yo form, then it will stem change in the command form as well. Empiezan a memorizar el vocabulario. And then we also have those special verbs, those yo-go verbs. You may remember those from Spanish 1. And they're not necessarily irregular for the command form. We just have to keep them in mind because they will also have those spelling changes in the command forms. Like, for example, hacer, the yo form is hago. So we're going to maintain that HAG for the command form. Drop the O and put on the opposite ending. So for an ER verb, it's haga o hagan. Another example, poner, pongo. So our command form would be ponga o pongan. Poner can be set the table, or it could also mean to put or place, like put your bag down, or it could also mean to turn on the radio or to turn on the TV. So if you wanted to tell someone turn on the TV, you would say ponga la televisión. Ponga la televisión. Salir would be salga o salgan. Tener, tenga, tengan. Tener means have. And when we use this when we're talking about possession, so I'm trying to think of command forms where you would use tener by itself, and I can't really think of any off the top of my head, but a lot of times you would use these with the tener expressions, like tener cuidado means to be careful. So if you want to command someone to be careful, you would say tengan cuidado, be careful. Traer, traiga, traigan. Venir, venga, vengan. Decir, I'm back up here, decir, diga, digan. And then I also have conocer on here because it's not one of those go verbs, but it is irregular in the yo form. And so it will maintain that irregularity with the formal command form. So conocer, the yo form is conozco, drop the O, and we have conozca, conozcan. And the same thing with ver, we have veo for the yo form, so we drop the O and we have vea, vean. We do have a handful of irregulars, and you'll just have to memorize these. Dar, de, o den, give. Remember that the singular form does not have the A. So if you're just talking to one person, use de. If you're talking to more than one person, you would use den. Estar, esté, o estén. Ir, vaya, o vayan. Saber, sepa, sepan. Ser, sea, o sean. And then when we're talking about formal commands and we're using pronouns with those commands, and those pronouns could be direct object pronouns or they could be reflexive pronouns, there are special rules with placement. If you haven't watched the video yet on direct object pronouns, you should do that before you watch this part because it may be a little confusing to you, those direct object pronouns that I use. And then the reflexive verbs, just to review, these are from Spanish 1, and remember your reflexive verbs are those verbs that end in se, like levantarse, lavarse, ducharse, afeitarse, despertarse. All of those verbs that end in se are called reflexive verbs, and the reflexive pronoun is the se at the end. So our rule is when we have an affirmative command is just when you're telling someone to do something. A negative command would be don't do something. So with the affirmative command, when we're telling someone to do something, we attach the pronoun. Remember, those direct object pronouns are the me, te, lo, la, nos, los, las, and your reflexive pronouns are the se. We attach those pronouns to the end of the command form, and then we also have to count back 3 syllables and place an accent mark there because we've added something to the end. So here's some examples. Pay her. So to pay is pagar, so the command form of pagar would be pague. We have that gu in there because pagar is a gar verb. Remember, car, gar, zar. They have those spelling changes. Her is a direct object pronoun. We're going to use the direct object pronoun la, and we attach it to the end, pague la. And then the last thing that we have to do is count back 3 syllables. So we have pague la. 1, 2, 3. We're counting back from the end. And put a written accent mark there, pague la. Clean them, and it's masculine. So to clean is limpiar. Our command form is limpie. Them is either los or las, and I've said it's masculine, so we're going to use the masculine form, los, attach it to the end, count back 3 syllables. This IE counts as 1. Limpialos. Limpialos. Order it. Pedir is your verb, so the command form would be pida. It's a stem changing verb. That's where that I comes into play. It is lo. We attach it to the end. Pídalo, put an accent mark. Here's an example of a reflexive verb. Sentarse means to sit down. And so we want to command someone, sit down. And I'm going to use the ustedes form here. Sentar is a stem changing verb, so it changes that E to an IE. Because it's an AR verb, the command form ends in EN. So we have sienten, and then our reflexive pronoun is se, and we just attach that to the end. Siéntense. Don't forget to count back 3 syllables and put your written accent mark there. So those are for affirmative commands. With affirmative commands, we're going to attach the pronoun to the end. However, with negative commands, we just put them before the no. So don't tell, or before the command after the no. So don't tell me, no me diga. Don't do it, no lo hagan. Don't sit down, no se siente. And here are some practice activities. If you'll take a moment, pause the video, and complete these práctica, you're going to form commands. Be sure you pay attention whether it's usted and ustedes. Think about those special cases. And then when you've completed these, press play, and we'll see if you are on the right track. So, número 1, escriba el orden. Write the order. Número 2, make the salads. Hagan. Remember, that's one of those yogo verbs, so it's going to be a little irregular. No decir usted, no diga nada al cliente. Don't tell the client anything. No coman de estos platos. Don't eat from those plates. Escuche bien a sus clientes. Listen well to your clients. And then aquí hay más práctica. Here's some more practice. Do the same thing where you pause the video, complete these 5 questions, and then push play to see if you're on the right track. Número 1, lea bien las preparaciones de los platos. Número 2, no pidan propinas de los clientes. Don't ask for tips from the clients. Número 3, no vaya a la cocina. Don't go to the kitchen. And número 4, levántense ahora mismo. Get up right now. And número 5, traiga los platos a la cocina. Bring your plates to the kitchen. Are you understanding this? I hope so. I also have some other resources for you to help you internalize this better. You can go to the website conjuguemos.com, select Spanish verbs, and do number 29 usted commands. On that activity, you will be given a verb. It will tell you whether it's affirmative or negative. If it's negative, then you need to put no in front of it, and you will form, they will all be usted commands, so none of them will end in N, because they're the singular ones. That's a really good type of practice. It's just very repetitive, and it's a really good way to internalize this information. You should also do the activities pertaining to the formal commands in your workbook lab manual. You should see your study guide for which numbers pertain to formal commands. And you can access that workbook lab manual study guide on Blackboard in the chapter notes heading. And then also there are some practice pages in the back of your textbook, which would also be really good practice for you. And so those practice pages in the back of your textbook are páginas 95 and 95 parte de. And you can check yourself because the answers are in Blackboard in the chapter notes folder. All right, well, I hope this was clear and that you were able to understand how to form formal commands. If you have any questions, please send me an email or drop by my office and I'll try and clarify things for you. Adios.